Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Wild Beasts album, Present Tense. These guys are a UK-based art pop outfit, and this is their fourth full-length album. A band that's known for its whimsical songwriting and incredibly theatrical and dramatic singing from dual frontmen Tom Fleming and Hayden Thorpe. The singing on their LPs really is Wild Beast's most defining characteristic. However, across many of their records, the most persistent issue for me has just really been the sound of their instrumentation, the sound of their music in general. I think the Achilles heel of the band's last LP, Smother, was that the instrumentation sounded so plain on that record. While the vocals and tunes are fantastic and really sharp a lot of the time, I find the guitars and the drums and occasionally synths to be just a little too dry, a little colorless, a little lifeless. However, it is their sound that the band is overhauling on this newest LP of theirs. As I heard in an interview I did with frontman Hayden Thorpe earlier this year, he said that this new LP from the band does not rely quite as much on live instrumentation and explores a lot more synthetic electronic textures. And I suppose in a way Present Tense is Wild Beast's electronic record. However, this album wasn't really the shift in style or sound or aesthetic that I thought it was going to be based on the conversation that I had. It's not like this was the kind of change that Liars made, for example, from their LP Sister World to Wish You, which was a significant change in the band's sound and how they wrote songs. Wild Beasts, however, even though there is a bit of a sonic change on this LP, they still rely on a lot of the same slower, smoother, sexier grooves, more sensual melodies, and they bring their usual vocal style along for the ride as well on this LP too. And the inclusion of more synthesizers on this new record of theirs isn't really that overwhelming of a change, since the drum beats and the vocals are really what kind of take reins on these songs anyway. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, since that is exactly what has made Wild Beast sound so seductive over their past few albums anyway. For the most part, the band's strengths remain the same, but I think their weaknesses do as well. The dynamics between the band's two lead singers are still really impressive. The songs on this LP overall are very enjoyable. A lot of the tunes here continue to set a kind of sexy tone. However, I'm still pretty lukewarm on how Wild Beasts approaches sound. And even though there are some tracks here where it seems like Wild Beasts stacks one synth sound on top of another, I'm not finding this record to be nearly as colorful as the cover that they've slapped on it. And I think the really touching vocals and tunes and occasionally very bold lyrics do kind of get hindered by the sounds that Wild Beasts layer into these songs, like with the opening track, the lead single from this LP, Wanderlust. I think the really still, flat, rough bass synthesizers that just sort of warble away in the background on this song don't really set that great of a tone. Neither does the very numbing drum beat in one stiff synth phrase after another. It just makes the song's momentum feel non-existent by the time the track is halfway through. Again, if it weren't for the singing and the fact that the song has a pretty epic ending, I don't think I would have dug the track at all. I think this stiffness pervades other tracks on here like Daughters, and then there's the closer on here, which to me sounds sort of like a Kate Bush-alike 80s tinged art pop ballad that could have ended a movie and played while the credits rolled. Despite really blunt lyrics on this LP like "Don't confuse me for someone who gives a fuck," I think there are a lot of sounds on this record that feel a little sterile. Occasionally, I just get the feeling that Wild Beasts did not dig too far or manipulate too far the synthesizer sounds, the electronics that they actually went into this record using. It felt like the band just went down another avenue to execute what they typically do, as opposed to use this opportunity to find a plethora of entirely new sounds to build their songs off of. For someone who was hoping for more of a significant change on this new record of theirs, it's a little underwhelming. But for somebody who loves Wild Beast sounding exactly the way that they typically sound, it could be a good thing. I guess at the end of the day, Wild Beast is never going to be that kind of sonically spelunking sort of band, and that doesn't mean this record is a disappointment to me merely because of that, because again, they do deliver good songs. Like the song Mecca. I love the descending vocal melody on this track. Because away. A serious highlight on this record for me, and I love the stuttering guitar solo in the second half of this track too. There's the song Pregnant Pause, a really powerful piano ballad delivered by Hayden Thorpe on this track. Really beautiful singing across the song, and I love the way that the instrumentation builds from the beginning to the end of the track. It does show a significant amount of progression from the start to the finish, and I love how the abrupt ending comes in based off of the phrase in the hook, pregnant. We're finishing. There's just silence, pregnant pause, Clever girl. Then there's the track A Simple and Beautiful Truth, which in my opinion actually should have beat out Wanderlust for the single off of this LP. Yeah, for sure it does not signify as bold a change in the band's sound as Wanderlust, but I love the synthesizers in the background of this track. It seems like they would have been more fit for a set of stringed instruments to be playing them, but still, I love the way that they just lightly pump away. The falsetto on the hook that Hayden delivers on this track is absolutely sexy, and this song I think has maybe the most irresistible groove on the entire album. Oh, a simple and beautiful truth. There's A Dog's Life, which is one of the slow burners off of this LP, and maybe the only Tom Fleming-led song that I really loved, mostly because of its huge climactic ending. One of the few moments on this LP where I felt like Wild Beasts really made use of the additional electronics on this LP and built up a lush wall of sound to climax this track. A really powerful moment on this LP, and also something on this record that makes me think how amazing it would be if Wild Beasts incorporated more epic spots in their albums like this. But, what are you gonna do? Wait for the next record and listen to that. That's what I'm going to do. This record for me was a very good listen. There are some tracks that truly do pale in comparison to others, and I'm not won over completely by the incredibly slight change in direction, at least what seems slight to me, change in direction that Wild Beasts made on this LP. Still, whatever shortcomings Wild Beasts do have instrumentally, I think their songs and their singing continue to be impressive. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this thing. Transition. If you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's about it. Anthony Fantano, music review forever.